You've probably been told to run one Facebook ads campaign, throw all your ads in, launch new ad sets inside it, and just scale that. I'm hearing this advice everywhere at the moment, and for scaling brands, it's costing real money. In this video, I'm gonna break down the 3 specific ways it breaks, and then show you what the structure should actually look like. So look, the one campaign method isn't wrong everywhere. If you're a startup brand doing sub 100K a month, it's often the right call. Limited budget, limited creative, you want the algorithm to do the heavy lifting on one consolidated pool of spend. That's fine at that stage. But the moment you've got an established customer base, a real ad budget, and ads you actually want to scale, a single campaign starts to collapse under its own weight. And it collapses in 3 specific ways. 1, existing customer bias is your audience. 2, learning reset every time you drop a new ad or a new ad set in. And 3, you lose the ability to test the structural levers that actually move scaling accounts. Things like landing pages, exclusion tiers, and products with different AOVs. Let's go through each one. The first one is the biggest hidden tax, especially if your brand's been running for a few years and already has a strong customer base. We work with a meal prep brand that's been going for 4 or 5 years, strong customer base, decent chunk of their revenue coming from repeat purchase. When we looked at their one campaign setup, the algorithm was quietly sending a huge chunk of the spend back to people who had already bought. And that's not random, it's baked into how the system works. Meta optimizes for lowest cost per purchase. Existing customers are the cheapest purchasers on the board. They already know the brand. They've already converted once. Of course, the algorithm is going to over-allocate spend there. The account looks healthy on Meta reported ROAS, but new customer acquisition is quietly starving. The scaling ceiling is way lower than it should be, and nobody can see why, because the headline number looks fine. Here's how you actually verify this. There's a feature inside Ads Manager called Audience Segments. You can turn it on at the campaign or ad set level, and it'll break your delivery down into new customers, engaged audience, and existing customers. I've got screenshots coming up to show you exactly how to switch it on. Once it's running, you can actually see the split. When I'm auditing a scaling brand with a single campaign setup, it's not unusual to see 40 to 60% of the spend going to existing customers. That's your diagnosis right there. Now, the fix is not just exclude purchases on everything. Sometimes that works best. Sometimes warm exclusions on just purchases works best. Sometimes you need harsh exclusions all the way. And the only way to know is to run parallel campaigns at different exclusion tiers and watch them against each other. This is where your third-party attribution starts earning its keep. If you cross-check in Triple Whale or Emotive, and your harsh exclusion campaign is winning on first click contribution, that's a signal your existing audience is exhausted and the algorithm is having to work harder to find new buyers. If your warm exclusion campaign, where you've only cut out purchases, is winning on last click, the algorithm is getting good hits on your engaged audience and the purchase exclusion is doing its job by keeping existing customers out of the spend. Different signals, different actions. You can't read any of that from a single campaign. Second failure, if your one campaign is actually performing, every time you drop new ads or new ad sets into it, you're resetting the algorithm's learning to some degree every single time. That's just how Meta's system works. What this looks like in practice, you're shipping creative, the account looks busy, you're doing the work, but the CPA never really moves. It flickers down for a couple of days while the algorithm tries to refine its audience and adapt to the new creatives you've just added, then it bounces back up. The account gets stuck in this loop where the algorithm is constantly being disrupted before it can settle into a stable pattern. The symptom is a CPA that won't budge up or down in a meaningful way no matter what you try. Classic sign you're resetting the learning. The fix is simple. Testing lives in a separate ABO campaign, not in your main one. You put a new batch of creatives in its own ad set with its own budget. You force spend behind them so you can actually read whether they're working. You do that for several batches, a few rounds, until you've got clear view of winners across those batches. Then, only when your main campaign is fatiguing or you're seeing diminishing returns on it, that's when you move the proven winners across from your test campaign into the main one as a deliberate creative refresh. By that point, the main campaign actually needs fresh creative and the algorithm has space to absorb it and keep scaling. Brands running the one campaign method are paying twice for this. Once because the algorithm never stabilizes and the CPA stays stuck, and once because they can't even tell whether their new creative is a winner or a loser because it never gets a clean read inside the chaos. Third failure, a single campaign closes off the scaling levers that only exist when you run multiple campaigns in parallel. 2 of them are worth covering here. The first is landing page testing. Take your top performing ads, same creative, and run them against different landing pages in parallel campaigns. Product page in one, collection page in another, a hybrid landing page in a third, an advertorial in a fourth. Different landing pages win at different times, and they win for different audiences depending on where they are in their buying cycle. Inside a single campaign, you can't test this cleanly because the algorithm just routes everything through whatever URL you've got on the ad, and you never get a fair comparison. The second is products with AOVs. If your brand has a $40 product and a $180 product sitting inside the same campaign, Meta's lowest cost optimization is always going to skew the spend to whichever one converts the cheapest, which is usually the lower priced product. The higher AOV product never gets a fair read, even though on a per purchase basis, it might deliver a better overall return for the business and a better lifetime value customer. Separate campaigns force spend allocation on each product and let you see the full economic picture. Both of these levers live in what I call the super campaign structure. There's a full breakdown of it, I'll link at the end. So if you roll all three of those problems into one picture, here's the directional fix. First, parallel scaling campaigns at tiered exclusion levels. One with no exclusions, one with warm exclusions where you're just cutting out recent purchases, and one with harsh exclusions where you're pulling out past purchases, website visitors, and your email list as well. Run them in parallel and watch them against each other. Use first click from Triple Whale or Emotive to see which tier is doing which job in your funnel. That's not optional at scale, that's your core read. Second, a separate ABO testing campaign running behind the scaling campaigns. So your new creative gets a clean test without disrupting the learning on anything that's already working. When the scaling campaigns fatigue, proven winners graduate across in a batch, like I covered in problem 2. Third, super campaigns where it makes sense. Landing page variants when you want to find out whether your product page or an advertorial or a collection page converts better. Separate campaigns for products with materially different AOVs, so the higher ticket skew actually gets spent. Quick signal reading cheat sheet. Harsh exclusions winning means your existing audience is exhausted and you need to push cold acquisition harder. Warm exclusions winning, where the algorithm is getting good hits on your engaged audience while the purchase exclusion is protecting you from existing customer bleed, usually means you've got engaged audience ready to convert. And then the no exclusion campaign. That one's gonna look like it's winning almost every time because it's got access to the easiest conversions on your account, which is usually returning customers. The real question isn't whether it's winning, the question is what the split is between new customers and existing customers inside it. And you can get that split directly from your third-party attribution, whether that's Triple Whale or Emotive, because they'll break delivery down by new versus returning customers for you. If the ROAS on existing customers is really strong, that tells you there's more repeat revenue available than you thought, and you can choose to scale that campaign at a budget you're deliberately comfortable spending to reacquire your own customers. Sometimes the same campaign is also pulling strong ROAS on new customers, in which case you can keep scaling it as an acquisition lever as well. Either way, you're making the call with visibility instead of by accident. This is a structure we run on client accounts at 7 and 8 figures. It's a bit more to manage, sure, but the scaling ceiling is higher and the data is actually readable, which means you can keep pushing without flying blind. So to bring it all together, the one campaign method is fine for a startup. For a scaling brand, it's costing you money through existing customer bias, learning reset, and all the structural levers you'd never get to pull. Now look, all of this is just one piece of what you actually need to scale your DTC brand profitably on Meta. You also need to nail your super campaign exclusion ladder, your creative testing rhythm, and your landing page testing. Those are the other big levers that decide whether this structure actually compounds for you. If you're doing over 100K per month and you want to be sure you're not wasting time and money on the mistakes that most brands make, check out the first link in the description to claim your free audit, no strings attached, and work with me directly. But even more importantly, make sure to watch my full breakdown of the Super Campaigns framework, which is the scaling side of everything I just covered. I'm sure you'll find some gems for your brand. It's super practical. See you there.